Hello Mission Chiefers and welcome back to, of course, another episode of Mission Chief and the tutorials of Mission Chief. Anyways, I am Horny Devil and let's get started on hospitals. Now, we do have hospitals throughout Minnesota, and granted, it did take me a long time to build up these hospitals. Now, the reason I have so many hospitals, of course, is because hospitals never change costs. Now, I think I have around 50 to 60 hospitals throughout the state. I don't even know if I have them all built yet, but I do have a lot of gaps. And where there's gaps, there's typically a hospital. Not always the case, but especially when they're in a rural area and no one fucking lives by them. But anyway, so I have almost every hospital built in Minnesota, if not all currently. Now, I'm sure I am missing a couple, like I just said, but I will eventually find them all. But anyway, so there is ways of finding these hospitals. Now, granted, you can actually go to your state's directory of hospitals, and there's a huge list, alphabetically or whatever the fuck kind of form they want to put it in, and they will tell you exactly how many hospitals are in the state and the names of them and their locations. But anyways, getting to the nitty-gritty of hospitals. Now, there's a couple things you got to know. I have went over an episode before whether I said, or what I said, what should I get first, a hospital or an ambulance station? Now, please watch that video because I do talk about which one you should get and why you should get it first. Now, the answer I did put in that video was hospitals. Now, I'm not going to go over it again this episode because I literally spent like 15 minutes on that shit, and I talked to my computer screen on why the fuck you should not get an ambulance station first. There is some ups and downs to that reason, but it does not kill you, trust me. But anyways, so let's get started. So the first thing you gotta know is expansions, of course. Now, the first expansion you should get, now I'm not saying this this is always the case, but in my opinion, the best extension you should get, it would be General Surgeon, or General Surgery. I thought this used to be General Surgery, but I guess it's now General Surgeon. Once you get General Surgeon, you can get Traumanology, because there's a lot of calls that require Traumanology, especially when you get up there with the traffic accidents and I think fallen persons, whatever you have like a traumatic fucking brain injury or whatever. Traumanology is there. Now, the other two you probably will need is General Internal also. Those two you get calls on a lot. Most of the calls are just General Internal and General Surgery. So you guys can make the choice, and it really depends on how far you are in the game. If you have like 5 calls and you are getting Traumanology calls, they do not happen as much as General Surgery or General Internal. So these do take about a week to build, if not a full week, depending on if you coin them or not. I would suggest not coining them because 10 coins for $10,000 is a huge ripoff. If you're going to coin them, do the week. Get rid of the week. So let's just do this as an example. I'm going to waste about $10,000 on this hospital right here, but it'll be well worth it. It'll drastically reduce the time it takes for me to go to a hospital that actually needs the correct treatment. So let's just get General Internal. Now, it's going to take me a week to build this real quick. So as you can see, I have 6 days, 23 hours, 59 minutes, and 56 seconds. Now, if you spent your 10 coins on this, you would save about a week and a lot of ambulance trips. Now, the other thing you got to know is the Alliance tax. If you're an Alliance, here's what you can do. If you want to make money off your Alliance peoples, you crank that fucking... Why is my screen freaking out? But anyways, I'm not going to touch 50 credits because my screen will start fucking going. Or 50% because my screen will start getting fucked up. So if you were to hit 50 credits and you are one of the only hospitals within the whole state or your whole community that you play on, you're going to get bank and fucking ambulance calls. All the ambulance calls are going to be heading to your place. Now, the way you do that is do not share your hospital. Don't touch that. So the first thing you got to do is hit share your hospital, and that'll share your hospital with your crewmates. So once you hit that, the Alliance tax will appear. Mine are free because there's actually no fucking expansions on them because I really don't use them all, and that would cost a lot of money. But anyways, shit, what was the word I'm looking for? Fuck it. Anyways, moving on. So if you wanted to tax the shit out of your people, you can do that. So what does that actually mean? So let's say everyone was playing in Minneapolis over here. All right, let's just click on my name. everyone's playing in Minneapolis, and let's say I only had the only hospital in the whole area, and I had HCMC. Now, if I was playing in Minneapolis, someone else was playing in St. Paul, other people were playing in Anoka, Roseville, other people playing Golden Valley, in the surrounding areas, they would have to send all their calls to my area until they got their own hospital. Now, there is the good thing that you do get paid for their transports to the hospital, but the bad thing is, now here's the bad thing. Are you guys ready for this? They will clog up your hospital real quick, especially when you have lots of people sending shit to your place. They can only have a maximum of 30 beds per place. Now, what does this mean? So when you hit expand, this will increase your bed limit. And you can only go up to 20. So currently, when you build a hospital, you start it with 10 beds. You can go up to 10 beds, and 10 beds will cost you, or an extra 20 beds, I should say, will cost you an extra $380,000. I keep all my hospitals at only 10 beds because I have so many hospitals and I don't really need to get 30 beds at one place, because they rarely ever get fully maxed out, and that's a huge waste of money. And I will tell you guys why it's a huge waste of money. Because for the same cost of building 20 extra beds, you could build 2 hospitals, and those 2 hospitals could be closer to the actual main areas, if that kind of makes sense. And like I said before, if you go over to expansions, general internal and general surgery are one of the cheapest fucking expansions ever. Okay, when you get up to everything else, these are all 70,000. So gynecology, urology, traumatology are all parts of 70,000 whenever you upgrade them. What else am I talking about? Now, when I do build a hospital myself, I absolutely love to build it over the actual listing, if that makes sense. So some people will, like unrealistic people, will literally put their little hospital like marker like over here because they think it, or even over the Hardee's over here because they think that the hospital is like this Hardee's or something. But it'll clearly see that it'll clearly say that the First Light Hospital Health System is right here. Now, granted, this is what I like to do. You guys can do whatever the fuck you want. Some people put it over the heliport, but for me, I like to put it over the actual building itself because I just feel more comfortable doing that. Now, so you can put it over the heliport. That does look a little bit cooler, especially when your hospital is over the helipad. So when you have an emergency medical helicopter coming in, it actually lands on the heliport instead of the actual building itself. But that's not always the case. But whatever you wanted to do is personal preference. Because not all helicopter pads are listed within the game. So that's what I like to do. Anywho, what else am I missing? Oh, I'd also like to point out that let's just head over to HCMC again, because that's one of my main hospitals. And with my main hospital, I have all of my things upgraded on it. I have all the expansions. That was expensive as fuck, okay? Now, most of these expansions actually never get used. Now, the ones I have actually seen get used most recently are cardiology, of course. I think it's neurology. Traumatology, urology sometimes does get used. I don't remember what the calls are, but I think urology does get used. I don't know for sure, though. That's an iffy. I don't believe it does, but it might. Or it might, but I don't believe it does. And gynecology now is getting used. It used to have absolutely no fucking use in the game, but now it does. With the pregnant people, I don't know why gynecology is actually here, because OBGYN actually has to do with birthing and shit like that. It's like obstetrics, and they're like a gynecologist and deal with fucking babies. So, and then of course general internal and general surgery. You need to get general internal and general surgery if you want to unlock all these the expansions, I should say. Now, I did do a test with this hospital, and I figured in my Alliance tax actually at 30%. I can actually make that one free. I did do a test to see if when you get a trauma center, if the cost of transporting a patient there increases. Now, I will kind of explain this a little bit because it might be a little bit complicated on what I'm trying to say here. So, what does a trauma center actually mean? When you have a trauma center, it means you have all these unlocked, basically. In the real world, there's a little bit more because you have to have, in order to be a trauma center, you have to have, let's say, a neurosurgeon or a cardiologist on the floor at all times in order to be a trauma center, because that means you can deal with any emergency at any point in time or time of the day. No, doesn't matter the year, doesn't matter the fucking date. Christmas or fucking Thanksgiving. There's always going to have to be those people there at all times. Now that, in return, makes it a trauma center. There's level 1 and level 2, but I'm not going to get into that because that's just a bunch of shit that I don't even worry about. Now, I thought that when you get a full trauma center, with all these useless buildings like neurosurgery or even cardiac surgery, that you would get paid a little bit more money when you sent patients to the hospital, especially this hospital. Usually you make around 575 credits per transport to the hospital when it's for the correct facility. And in this case, when I sent it to the hospital after I got all these ones, you still got paid the same amount. So basically, there's absolutely no need for getting neurosurgery or cardiac surgery at the moment. I don't believe I've ever actually seen those ones in use, ever. You guys might have, but I don't think I've ever used them, in my personal opinion. And granted, we all play the same game, and if you guys don't get them, I most likely don't get them either. So, and if I don't get them, you guys probably don't get them either. So, that's kind of what I was trying to explain on trauma centers, and it's a complete false. I thought the game would be like that, but it definitely wasn't. I never knew, but I just wanted to. I'm trying to figure it out because I never. What's the word I'm looking for? I of course believed that Mission Chief would never actually do that because they don't know the head from their ass when it comes to actual like medical shit. But anyways, that is about it. What I need to explain. What else do I need to talk about? Okay, and here's the other thing. There are currently 2 patients in the hospital. Your hospital can accept a maximum of 10 patients. A patient will automatically be released every 1 hour. So what does that mean? The more beds you have, the better, essentially, what it's trying to say. Now, granted, for me, I only do 10 patients, and I really don't care because I have all my patients get spread out throughout my hospitals. Now, a patient does get released from your hospital every hour. So that means if you have a full hospital of 10 patients, so every bed is full, which is like one of the smallest hospitals I've ever seen. Usually some of our hospitals have 190 beds or 390 or I don't remember the number, but a fuckload of beds. And if a patient gets released every hour, so that means it'd take 10 hours if you have a full hospital to release them all. So if you go to work or you go to school, that typically takes around 8 hours. So you'll get a full hospital open almost within those 8 hours, unless you play at work or school. So that is the other thing I have to say. Otherwise, you can release these patients, and once you release them, you'll get an extra 250 credits just because you treated them. Now, once you transport them, that does get you a cost, and once you treat them, that gets you a cost also, if that makes sense. But I do believe that does finish everything for hospitals, and yeah, I believe that's it. But anyways, like I said before, the reason I have so many hospitals is because hospital prices never go up. Same with ambulance stations. That's why I have so many, and that's the way they're going to stay. I'm going to keep building more and more. And like I said, you can find lists of your local hospitals on your Minnesota, or not Minnesota, but your state's main government pages. Because in order to be a hospital, you kind of need to register to be like a fucking official place. So you guys should really do that and find all your hospitals. If you are going to play like me and fill up your whole states and control the whole state. So as you guys can see right here, hospitals never go up in price. These ones will always stay at 200,000. Take it from me, a person with over 50 hospitals. They never go up in price. You can build it for 35 coins, but I would say that's not worth it at all. You are better off building things for 10 or your 35 coins elsewhere, especially when you're getting up in costs of fire departments, and the fire departments cost a fuckload. But anyways, that does wrap it all up for hospitals. I hope you guys learned something. You probably didn't, but if you're new to the game, you probably did. Anywho, like I said, thank you for watching. Have a good one.